Today we're talking about a guy who basically dreamed up our entire electric future. And yet he died forgotten, and totally alone. This is the tragic story of Nikola Tesla, a genius whose life was just full of shocking contrasts.
I mean, how does that even happen, right? How can you be the person who literally powered the modern world and still end up broke and alone? To figure that out, we've got to go all the way back to the beginning.
Okay, so long before Tesla was this world-famous inventor, he was, well, a prodigy. And I'm not just throwing that word around. We're talking about a young man whose mind was just wired differently, like on a whole other level from pretty much everyone else.
Tesla was born way back in 1856 in a tiny little village in what's now Croatia. Now you got to picture this. The world is still lit by gas lamps, and this kid is about to start imagining a future powered by something totally different. And the power of his mind was just staggering. Seriously. He had a photographic memory. He could visualize, build, and even test these incredibly complex machines entirely in his head. He didn't even need to draw a blueprint. But, this kind of genius often comes with a price. He also had to fight through some serious illnesses and a ton of mental pressure.
So you've got this incredible mind, right? And with it, Tesla had a dream. And this was a dream so huge he had to cross an entire ocean to even try to make it happen. And that journey is exactly where he meets his greatest rival.
All right, so when Tesla gets to America, the big thing in electricity is something called direct current, or DC. Just think of it like water flowing one way through a hose. It works, sure, but it's not very efficient, especially over long distances. And its biggest fan? None other than the most famous inventor on the planet, Thomas Edison.
But Tesla, he knew there was a much better way. His big idea was for something called alternating current, or AC. This stuff could be sent super efficiently over hundreds of miles. He actually worked for Edison for a little while, but they could just not agree on this one thing. And that disagreement, it was about to put them on a collision course.
And yeah, this was way more than just a friendly disagreement between colleagues. It blew up into this all-out public battle for the future of electricity itself. We now call it the War of Currents. So the stage is set. You've got a showdown between two absolute giants of invention. In one corner, you have the world-famous Thomas Edison, sticking with his tried-and-true direct current system. And in the other corner, you have this brilliant young immigrant, Nikola Tesla, with his totally revolutionary idea for alternating current. And let's just say, Edison did not fight fair. Not at all. He launched this massive smear campaign to convince everybody that Tesla's AC was incredibly dangerous, that it was a threat to every man, woman, and child.
But Tesla found a super important ally, a guy named George Westinghouse, a big-time industrialist who totally saw the genius in AC. With Westinghouse's money and influence, they were able to show the world that AC wasn't just safe, it was way, way more practical and efficient for powering, well, everything.
And in the end, the winner was absolutely clear. Tesla's AC system won, hands down. It became the global standard for how we generate and distribute power. I mean, it's the very same system that's powering your lives right now. This was the absolute peak of his success.
But see, for a mind like Tesla's, winning was never the final goal. He was already looking past that victory, way beyond the horizon, at a dream that was even more ambitious, and maybe, just maybe, 100 years ahead of its time.
His next big idea was, well, it was even more wild. He wanted to transmit electricity right through the air, wirelessly. Just think about that for a second. No power lines, no electricity bills, just free, accessible energy for anyone, anywhere on the planet. He was so all in on this, he actually built these gigantic towers to try and make it a reality. But, and it's a big but, there was a huge problem. Investors, they loved projects that made them a quick buck, but this revolutionary idea of free, wireless energy, to them, that sounded like a terrible business plan. I mean, how do you put an electricity meter on thin air? You can't. And so, his funding, it just dried up. And that lack of funding, that was really the beginning of a long, slow, tragic decline. The very man who had won the War of Currents was about to spend the rest of his life just fading away. In his final years, his home was just a string of different hotel rooms in New York City. The man who had once been celebrated all over the world was now living pretty much in total isolation. And here's the really tragic irony. As the world became more and more lit up by his inventions, the man himself was almost completely forgotten by the very same public he'd done so much to help. Then in 1943, at 86 years old,
Nikola Tesla passed away, alone, in his hotel room.
But you know what? That isn't the end of the story. Not really. Today, his name is basically shorthand for genius and innovation. He is, and rightly so, recognized as one of the most important inventors in all of history, a man whose ideas literally built the world we live in. Tesla's life is just this powerful, kinda heartbreaking reminder that true genius isn't always recognized in its own time. And it leaves you with this one big question: what's the real price you pay for being ahead of your time?